Oh, hey, Sally. No.
It's time.
I can hear you. That's fine.
Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan, one of the top real estate agents, not only on the Grand Strand, but in the world. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, the Wall Street Journal, NBC, and many other publications. And now, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan.
Good morning, everyone. Brand new show this week. All kind of stuff happening. I'll tell you, it's been a wild week in real estate, both locally, nationally. Big news with interest rates that are on the back of the war, all kind of crazy stuff. So we'll talk about that, what that means, how that's affecting here locally. A huge week last week in terms of real estate. Our team put 24 properties under contract in one 7-day period, which is huge. A record for a long time in terms of like really in the last year or so, which is really good, especially when you're talking about, pre-spring type numbers. But really some big news in terms of national real estate, the macro market, not just here, but nationally. And I mentioned briefly on last week's show, some major players calling for some potential holes or cracks in the housing market, seen some marketplaces that are been kind of going backwards in both sales, prices, things like that. We're seeing that a little bit. Some areas see what they call potential crash type stuff, but we're very insulated. One good thing we'll talk about on today's show, a new study showed the states that people move to the most, and South Carolina dominated that in a major way. I've seen a lot of that on social media. You guys probably seen some of that too. So we'll talk about that, what's going on there overall in terms of what's happening. We have that also the brand new micro market numbers in from last month. They're interesting. I'll tell you this, some areas down like 18%, some areas seeing a little bit of positive, and some of the main key leading indicator areas are seeing a decline in terms of sales. And so we'll talk about what that means, what to look for overall. And that's kind of the main thing, that the main goal here is help keep you educated on everything real estate related, so you can make some better decisions. For most people, their largest asset, which is real estate. And so kind of go all that. Also, in addition to that, our investment fund, we're still buying properties. Just bought another one this week. Just signed on Friday. They're cleaning it up right now. And it was in Conway. Nice house, single family. The lady, her brother passed away, inherited it. Still had a bunch of like stuff in it. It's great, good condition. So had a bunch of stuff to clean out, like just some furniture, things like that. Didn't want to mess with it. Wanted a fair price, full kind of market value in a way. We came and bought it, closed the exact day she wanted to, and closed in that seamless. And she didn't really, only took a couple of things she wanted. Our team handles the rest. And so that's a big advantage. We have our investment fund, which is awesome. And the last thing here, we're really ramping up for summertime. We have not pulled back spend in a market that's really been slowing down. A lot of agents have really gotten out of the business or even stuck, kind of not really sure what to do. We're hiring our team. We have one of the top team in Myrtle Beach, one of the top teams, 0.5% in North America, because we have very high standards, right? We have very high energy, high intensity, great support in terms of administration, lead flow, massive amount of marketing budget, 6-figure a month marketing budget. And so if you're thinking about getting real estate, or if you're in real estate watching this online or listening to us, you want to join a top team with a lot of great culture, a lot of great training, 5 different coaches in the industry and outside the industry that coach our team in life, business, skill set, all that stuff, definitely reach out to me. You can also get a scholarship at sloanscholarship.com. And as usual, if you ever want to come back and watch these shows, listen to them, we stream them online. Go to YouTube, just type in Blake Sloan Radio Show. You can follow me on Facebook at Blake Sloan. We also stream it at Sloan Realty Group, but make sure to stay tuned. Lots and lots of great stuff on today's show.
For any of your listeners, just to give you an update on just who Blake is, it's an amazing story. Industry leaders have dubbed him the real estate whiz kid. Been featured in Forbes, Wall Street Journal, NBC, Realtor Magazine, and many other national publications. He has been personally endorsed by Sean Hannity and Glenn Beck. One of those by itself is an accomplishment, but all of them together is unprecedented. Last week, we learned a little about how you and your team work and how a good portion of your success has come from the trademark systems you have developed to help both buyers and sellers here in our market. Recap quickly for anyone new to the show what those are exactly, and a quick overview of how they work, Blake.
Yes, Rick, and this is by far the number one reason why I do the show, by far the number one challenge that I face as a business owner, the number one challenge I face as a top realtor, whatever you can call it, is just the massive mistakes that consumers tend to make when it comes to real estate agents. And here's the deal. And this is why we did the whole show, made a promise years ago, like this is what the main problem is. I'm going to keep talking about it until the problem doesn't really happen as much. And this is an example of, it happened twice recently. Someone, one's a listener of this show, and they didn't call us first, and they didn't get success. And thank goodness it didn't sell, but they had a frustrating, very bad time. The reason I say thank goodness it didn't sell, because if it did sell, they could have lost $30, $40, $50,000 by having it mismanaged with someone else who wasn't very good at what they were doing. In addition to that, we had another guy who was a past client of ours from 7 years ago, purchased with us, and then he called. All they want to, he's calling all the agents trying to find the cheapest agent. And I'm like, dude, that's the wrong question. You're asking the wrong question. This is what you know, that this is just this week why consumers just make this mistake over and over and over and over. And I'm not saying you wanted to get the most expensive agent, but you're asking the wrong question, which leads you to the wrong outcome. And so here's the mistake that all consumers make. Not all, majority of consumers, especially high-end consumers. The worst are the ones that are most affluent. They just pick them on, like, who sold a couple in the neighborhood, which is definitely not the way to do it. Like, you have to understand there has to be a strategy of like how you pick an agent. It's like an attorney, right? Most people have no clue how to pick an attorney. And I learned that through just years of business and litigation and people stealing stuff. And I learned very quickly, you want to interview different ones, figure out, okay, who is in alignment with what I'm looking for and who can help me out. And then obviously look for the best value. But here's the mistake everyone makes. They make the mistake of thinking that all agents are the same, and it could not be any further from the truth. Just like any doctor, just like any lawyer, anything that's similar, that's a service-based business. And the service-based business part is the human element, right? How well does that human know the marketplace, and how well do they execute when it comes down to actually getting the job done? And so that's something we see all over the place all the time. And here's the challenge of real estate. It's a very long sales cycle, meaning when you're buying a property, right, it takes 30, 60 days to buy the one you actually made the offer on. In many cases, you're searching for a property 6 to 12 months before that. And so we've had people on our site for 4+ years we've worked with that finally buy something. Like, that's a long sales cycle. Now you add on top of that, it's a high ticket item, which means it's very emotional. Lots and lots of, good or bad decisions can cost you a lot of money. And then in addition to that, you have other things like financing, other pieces of that puzzle with other vendors that have to align with that. And so there's a lot of things that can go wrong on the listing side, which is the seller side, and also the buyer side. And so you have to understand, you have to have someone who knows what they're doing. Most people just pick random agent, not understanding the difference. Just like a doctor, lawyer, right? Again, if I'm charged with a crime I did not commit, the last thing I want is a part-time attorney or the cheapest attorney. And I asked that question to somebody this week about that. The guys, look, here's the deal. If I pick my attorney by calling every attorney in Myrtle Beach asking for the cheapest attorney, what am I going to get? Like, oh, I don't know. You're getting jail. That's what you're getting, right? You're getting the worst case scenario. Same thing, doctor, right? If I get, unfortunately, a life-threatening illness, the last thing I care about is getting a part-time doctor or the cheapest doctor around town, right? I want the absolute best who specializes in that type of medicine to give me the best, service. And it doesn't always mean you have to have the most expensive either. And I've learned that the hard way. One time I was in a litigation situation when it's like, I want the best attorney, right? It ended up being like the most expensive one. He didn't even read the paperwork I gave him before the hearing. I told that story before. So like you always want to, hey, who are you? What do you do? What makes you different? What's your process looks like? Those are the right questions, right? And so I want to share that in this show of like, you have to understand the number one thing that determines your success or failure as a home seller and even a home buyer comes down to one thing only. That thing is the agent you choose, period. Not the time of year you sell, not the quality of the paint, not the paint color, not the yard. It comes down to the agent you choose and how well they actually execute when it comes down to getting the job done. And so that's one thing I noticed to get in the business. If you look at the data from our business, the average agent in our marketplace sells less than 4 homes per year. That's terrible. That's typically 1 per quarter. And so if they're doing 1 per quarter, there's just not a pulse of the market. They don't really know what's going on. And here's the other thing. They're barely even paying rent, barely putting food on the table, much less having any money to spend on marketing on your behalf to get your property sold. And so that's the big thing there. And so what most agents do is they do the 3 Ps. They promise you the world to get the listing. They tell you anything and everything they can to try to get that listing. Use their number one. Everyone's number one, right? That's what they always say. And in addition to that, they basically, number one, promise to work at listing. Number 2, put it to MLS. And 3, they pray someone else brings a buyer. Meanwhile, they're down the street getting the next listing, trying to survive in the business. They get 10 listings, 5 of them sell, which is the data. Guess what? They're obviously getting some job done, but the other ones are not. It's the same thing I say. Hey, there's 48% of properties don't sell in our MLS last year. So if that's the case, there's a 48% chance of a failure rate. Like, are you getting an airplane? There's 48% chance of getting there? Absolutely not. So why would you gamble with the largest asset the same exact way? Because they don't ask the right questions. And so what I did is like, there's a big problem in the industry. How do we flip this upside down and make it where it's predictable, repeatable, as a process that does that? And that's exactly what I did. I designed this thing called the Guaranteed Sold System. The only proven system sells twice as fast and for 20% more money than traditional methods. And it works very, very, very well. I designed it. It's exclusive to us. We have a federal trademark on that. And you can learn more about that in a detailed documentary I have on BlakeSloan.com. We also designed one for buyers out there called an Unfair Advantage Home Buying System. Get you priority access to foreclosures, distress sales, desperate sellers, the absolute best negotiation and purchase price, as well as home inspection to get you that closing table successfully. And more importantly, what we want to do on our buyer side and seller side is help be your real estate resource for life. You need a vendor, plumber, electrician, yard person. We got you, right? All day, every day. We want to make sure that you have the absolute best experiences. So if you want to know more how those work, both of them in detail, I created an amazing documentary, explains behind the curtains of how the industry works, the do's and don'ts, the challenges, what questions to ask. All of that's explained right now online at blakesloan.com. We'll take a quick break right back here in a second.
That directly impact your family's future. Hey, your friend Sean Hannity here, and the same is true for your real estate transactions. Now, when you sell your home, you need to speak to one of the agents right here in town that will get you the most money with the least hassle. I'm talking about Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. Now, knowing the facts when you vote and when you sell your home is always important. That's why you should check out the value of your home in today's market. When you know the accurate value, you are better equipped to make an informed decision with all the options laid out for you. You know, options like an instant offer, or lay out your timeline and take advantage of their guaranteed sale program, or just put it on the market and get more money than you expected. Just go to the website, find out your home's value in seconds. Call Blake Sloan today at 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD. Or online at blakesloan.com. That's blakesloan.com. And get your home's real value in today's market in just seconds, and then you can start packing.
Hi, I'm Barbara Gordon. I'm excited to connect with Blake Sloan, the only real estate agent in Myrtle Beach that I recommend. You offer several options to home sellers, but it really takes away the stress.
That's right. For sellers at time crunch, you can agree to sell it by a certain date, get cash for your home, or even rent.
That's great. And if the seller has a bit more time?
Use our proven marketing plan to sell it for the highest price.
Work with my friend Blake Sloan and get your home sold on your terms.
Welcome back, Blake Sloan Radio Show. Brand new market update, all kind of stuff happening. We got different types of numbers we'll dig in today, and it's been a wild ride of like trying to juggle all these balls or spin all these plates to figure out what's happening, because it's been just crazy year so far. We had low interest rates, I think since like 2022, 2023. Recently we hit back in the 5%, and it's jumped back up, skyrocketing post a war, right, with Iran, which has kind of been a little crazy. And then we just hit the highest this week, just Friday, since December 8, 2025. And so it's just been all over the place. But when the rates were low, everything started working again. Buyers jumped back in, which is great. I do foresee that happening pretty soon here again. Like, look at our MLS right now. We have two types of numbers, right? The rear view mirrors, that's what closed last month. That's what historically the industry uses. We also use the front windshield numbers of like, hey, what's happening in terms of new pending deals to go under contract? That's why I keep pulse. That's how I advise our sellers in terms of strategy, how aggressive you can be for pricing. That's what allows me to squeeze more out the lemon, so to speak, for our clients based on what's happening real time. But like, if you look at the MLS, it is still rolling the last 7 days. And this is as of today, lots and lots of big money coming in. Last week's show was 566 properties for $229 million under contract in a 7-day period. Right now, we're at 544 for $210 million. So down just a little bit, from 566 to 544. So 20-ish properties, right? And so not a huge difference there. And that's probably on the heels a little bit of just rates creeping up a little bit, cost of affordability, buyers didn't hesitate, some war fears, things like that. But here's the crazy part. So much big properties. Just in the last 7 days, 2.95 million, 2.59 million, 2.5 million, 2.45 million, 2.25 million, 2.2 million, all under contract in the last 7 days. And that's 6 properties over $2 million under contract in a 7-day period. I remember that wouldn't happen for like 3 years of my career. I've seen that online, which is crazy. And so one at 1.94 million, there's 20 properties over $1 million under contract just in the last 7 days here on the Grand Strand, which is awesome. 99 properties over 500,000 under contract. So there's lots of big money still moving. And I'll tell you this, when you look at the marketplace, it's very, very splintered in a way. High end is still smoking hot. Why is that? Because you're seeing a lot of people, potentially baby boomers, are selling their properties, their assets up north. They're moving down here for a cost of living that's lower, and they're retiring, right? And you're seeing that happen a lot, and you're seeing some big high-end stuff start to move down here. And so that's a great news for most people. Some of the stuff in the mid-range is struggling a little bit in terms of inventory. That has to do with affordability and middle class, right? So you kind of got to figure out, okay, what's happening there, and really break it down to the micro level so you can pick your strategy and what you're doing. And we'll break that down today, right? We'll look at the micro market for each zip code, some shocking numbers there in certain areas. We tend to find that Myrtle Beach, Carolina Forest will usually lead the pack, right? So I can usually judge what's happening in the rest of the area, the Grand Strand, 2 to 3 months behind Myrtle Beach, right? Why is that? Because it's the main area, the main zip code, the main hub, which would be like 29577, 29572. Those are the two that really drive it. And then also you have Carolina Forest, which is like 29579. I'll get to that just in a second here. Really quick recap of our local macro market, which is like, okay, the entire Grand Strand as a whole, which is like, pretty much right across the North Carolina line, Brunswick County down to past Georgetown, inland to like, past Marion, Mullins, something like that, some in the latter. That's pretty much kind of our area that we go to. Includes Georgetown, obviously. So that's what the data comes. If you look at single family homes, sales are up last month 4.6% from the same month last year, which is great. It is in decline really the past few months. So, for example, there's 361 last month, but if you go back to like October, it's 546. And so it's been in decline the past couple months, but it does compare year versus year overall. One thing to look at for average sale price down year versus year, 1.1% for single family resales as a whole. Some pockets a little bit different. And so right now the median price, $485,191. Median price is at $389,999. So basically we'll call that $390. It's up 1.3%, which is great. Inventory of homes for sale is actually spiked up 4.7 months of inventory. So we're getting close to being a potential buyer's market for residential resale homes. Anything 6 months or more is a buyer's market. Anything less than 6 months, a seller's market. So if you're a seller, we want to kind of take advantage of that. Some areas, though, you are seeing a little more competition, especially if you're seeing new builds around there overall. The average days on market for property to sell is up 6%. Right now, it's 123 days on average before a property sells. If it does sell, you got to think about that. Only about 50% of properties are actually selling. And it's a little bit less than that, which is crazy. Only they're in the 30s in terms of percentage for condos actually selling right now. We'll talk about that in a second. Right now, the two biggest numbers I'm watching, though, are showings per listing. Right now, the average listing, the entire time it's listed, gets 3.5 showings over, let's say, a 6-month period, right? How many does it take to get a contract? It takes 12.5 on average. And so you think about that, you need 4 times the amount of the average, 4 times the amount of showings that the average listing gets to actually get a contract. And so that's a major challenge, right? Condos are really kind of way worse. The condo market definitely struggling. Year versus year sales are down only 0.3% in terms of units. But if you look at price, the major concern about price right now, median price down 12.9% year over year. So it's like off a cliff. Anything 10% or plus is what they consider a crash. And so that's something you want to watch out for, something we're watching out for. Right now, the median price for condos is $200,000. You got to think it peaked at $258 in April 2024. What's really causing that? Massive increase in insurances, right? A lot of fear for buyers in terms of HOA. You see a lot of HOA assessments. HOA amounts are sky high. And there's not really a solution that anyone's really seen in the short term that's going to make that go away. And so a lot of carriers have left the state, which has caused some issues. Overall, if you look at average sale price, it's also down 11.8% at $240,000, which is scary, right? So if you look at just the last couple months, so November 2025, the average condo price was $293,565. Right now, it's $240,807. So you can see a significant difference there, of $45,000-ish difference. And so that's just in really the last couple months. And so, yeah, think about that. If you're thinking about having a condo, and there's something you to watch, we were talking about this one, if you have a $300,000 condo and you're losing 12%, right? You're talking $36,000 difference just holding on to that condo for 12 months. And so it's a massive challenge. If you break it down, just simple, $200,000 condo, right? Talking $24,000, you're losing $2,000 a month in equity just by holding on to that, in addition to the HOA amount you're having if there's any negative cash flow, if it's not being rented out. And so any condo people are saying, look, I would tee it up this year right before summer to try to take advantage of this new summer season, new investors coming in, because I don't see a short-term solution in terms of condos. And as the economy, if it does continue to struggle a little bit, you're going to see a lot of people let go of second homes, investments, things like that. The third kind of piece of that perfect storm, guess what? If you talk to a lot of people, their rental income is down, obviously, because a lot of affordability issues for people out there. We're talking to some Airbnb owners, and we own a few ourselves. That I own a few self with the co-partners that work with me, and we're down 20-30% as well in the last 12 months. And so that's something that you may see continue to be a challenge. And if I'm a condo owner right now, I'm definitely thinking about getting out sooner rather than later, unless it's certainly a long-term hold. But I don't really see a short-term bottom that. Really quick jump into the micro market data. That's the hardest one to do on radio because I'm really just kind of grinding through it. But I just want to hit a couple key numbers and look at that's like what's my zip code doing compared to everyone else, right? If you look right now, Myrtle Beach, which is 29572, 29577, last month sales down 18%, which is significant. So that compares February to February. If you look year to date, sales down 9%. Prices down last month, down 3.4% at 505,000, where last year's 523. Year to date, down 3.5% as well. The one thing too, inventory in Myrtle Beach is up 13%. So inventory is up 13%, sales down 18%. Price is always a lagging indicator. And so that's something you want to continue to watch because you're probably going to see price soften even more unless rates get back down to the fives, which would be very, very good if so. Condo sales up, though. Check it out, up 40% last month in terms of units sold. Prices, though, Myrtle Beach prices for condos down 14% year versus year. Last year, 215. This year, 185. That's significant. Year to date, prices down 14% for condos overall. Into North Myrtle Beach, which is 29582. Sales last month for resale homes, down all homes, down 4.9%. Overall, prices, though, last month was up 10%, which is great. Last year, 487 in February. This year, 540. Inventory down 1.6%, which is great. Condo sales last month in North Myrtle Beach down 33% year versus year, right? So it's all over. It's really splintered based on property type, area type, demographic, who's buying, right? Investor, second home buyer, things like that. So you really want to dig into that and make sure if you are making decisions, you really want to dig into the exact property type, the exact property area to pick strategy. Overall, the good news is, like I said, prices for condos up in North Myrtle Beach, up 11.9% at 329,000, which is awesome. Little River area sales up 11% last month, which is great news. Year to date up 3%. Prices, though, down last month, down 4.7%. Year to date prices in Little River are down 8.8% at 337,000. Last year at 370. So significant drop in equity for owners there. Not many condos that area. Loris and Longs, which is 29568, 29569. Sales last month up 3.4%. Year to date up 5.6%. Prices down 2.3%. Year to date down 3%. So you've seen this trend here, right? Prices are down in a lot of areas right now, some more than others. So, for example, prices last year, Loris and Longs 295, right now 284. And so significant difference here. Conway area, sales up 30%. And that's a lot to do with new construction, right? You're seeing a lot of new construction out there, which is really helping kind of boost that. And this data does combine new construction and resale. Median price up 6.1% from 292 to 310. We are seeing new construction still do pretty well. They've been able to drop prices. You're seeing a lot of new construction houses priced less than resale, even in the same neighborhood. And they're offering some great incentives, right? Closing cost assistance, $10,000, $20,000, rates down to 3.99%, where they'll buy the rate down for you. And so they've been able to offer a lot of incentives, but I'm talking to a lot of new build agents who are also seeing a slowdown in terms of foot traffic. Check this out. Carolina Forest, which also kind of leads the pack. Sales last month down 36%. Year to date down 34%. That's significant, right? Prices, though, are always a lagging indicator. They're up 5.5%. So from 419 to 442, which is great. But also, here's the crazy part. Days on market of homes in Carolina Forest up 17% year versus year. So last year was 119. This year right now, 140 days on market for a home to sell if it actually does sell in Carolina Forest. Soxie area, closed sales up 4.3%, which is great. Prices up 4.7% from 339 to 356, which is awesome news. Paul's Island, Litchfield, closed sales last month up 47%. Like I mentioned, the high end still rolling. No problems there with people. Stock market, all-time high. At least what they were seeing, recently. Their home values all-time high. They're liquidating properties and assets up north, moving down here. We've seen some big stuff we've been a part of as well. Median price up 19% if you look in year versus year. So last February, 607. This year, 727. So again, we're seeing a big difference between high end and the mid-range in terms of prices, sales, things like that as well. Georgetown, overall closed sales on 56% first month overall, which is interesting. Median price up 9.5%, which is great. A lot of high-end stuff there too. A lot of big mix. It's a giant, big kind of county with different types of properties there. You're seeing, I own 2 in Georgetown right now that we're doing. And so the bottom line is you want to know what your neighborhood is doing. They're all over the place right now. We're seeing a little bit of a cracks. Like I said, certain areas are struggling. When you see Myrtle Beach down significantly, you see Carolina Forest down significantly. That's something to keep watching, right? And that's one of the most alarming ones. Seeing sales in Carolina Forest down 36% year versus year. Okay, maybe it's 1 month. Look at year to date, down 34%. And so we always know what comes after that typically will be a decline in prices. And so if you want to know more how it works, definitely reach out to me. You can call us 808 sold. We definitely can break it down for you. I'm not being gloom and doom at all. I'm just making sure that we understand, hey, look, you're seeing some softening. I want to tee it up. I think you're going to see a little bit of bump here if rates can stay a little bit normalized through this March, April, May, because people have been on the fence so long, ready to make moves. They were so close a couple weeks ago when we got a 5.99. One thing driving that, obviously, is interest rates. Last week's show was 6.13. Week before that, 5.99. And so that's when everybody started jumping back in. Right now, huge jump up 11 basis points just on between Thursday and Friday, 6.35%. So that's a lot of difference there for a 30-year fix from where it was just 2 weeks ago. 15-year fix, 5.95. A 30-year jumbo loan, 6.55. A 30-year FHA loan, 5.96. And a 30-year VA loan, 5.98%. And so that's something you're seeing all kind of drive things. I do think hopefully you'll see it bounce around a little bit and come back down if we can get maybe a short-term solution to this war. At least that's what a lot of people are saying. I'm seeing in that mortgage world. So we'll keep watching that and see. But the good thing about Myrtle Beach is very seasonal, and everyone's going to be coming in town right now. We got 3 or 4 minutes left. I'm going to skip that last break and just say, hey, look, one thing that we're really big on here, right, is our hot buyers alert. As you guys know, we spend massive amounts of money in marketing, $100,000 a month in marketing right now, driving traffic all across the globe, international, national. Right now, we have a ridiculous amount of home buyers looking at properties here in the Myrtle Beach Grand Street area, from 250 to 4.3 million. If you're thinking about selling, give us a call, 843-808 sold. That's 843-808 sold. Right now, people, the username, password on our site searching, we have 82,468 active home buyers and 82,468 active home buyers from all over. I got Don Wazowski from Stanford, Virginia. I got Drew Mayer from Oak Island, North Carolina. Birmingham, Alabama here, Nicole. I got Yanktonville in here. I got Falls Church. That's pretty cool, right? I think Wyoming. That's pretty awesome there. I got Pawleys Island. I got Tim from Salisbury, North Carolina. Here we go. I got Sam from Odenton, Maryland. They're searching right now this very second. So if you want somebody who's already has buyers in waiting, give us a call, 843-808 sold. Big difference between us and anyone else is we have massive amounts of buyers in waiting. We have technology that matches up buyers and sellers. And the sales team makes 14,000 phone calls per week. So we have the background, we have the technology, and with the salespeople to get it done. And really quick, one quick success story, right? Awesome here. Big shout out to Diane. She owned a 1-bedroom condo in Myrtle Beach. Has not been able to use it much as she had in the past. She said it's time for her to get ahead of that and get it sold. She wanted the absolute most top dollar for her property because she spent a lot of time upgrading it, professional decorating in the condo. She saw our 1,000+ 5-star reviews on Google. Decided to give us a call. We came and shared exactly how buyers, 1,000+ buyers looking for condos just like hers. We designed a custom plan, launched our Go Marketing Blitz, professional photos, drove massive traffic, had it under contract, and sold as the most expensive 1-bedroom unit to ever sell in her community. So we're very, very proud of that. Now she can move on maximum equity in her pocket. And also big shout out to Larry. He's a past client of ours. We helped sell his rental properties a couple years ago. He was ready to get rid of his other rental properties, tired of dealing with it, but he wanted top dollar. He reached out to us, knew exactly to come to first. We came in, designed a custom plan, launched our Gold Marketing Blitz, professional photos, drove massive traffic, had it under contract with a couple weeks for an as-is offer, no fixing it up, and he moved on maximum equity in his pocket. So if you want more about that, be our next success story, reach out to us, give us a call, 843-808 sold or blakesloan.com. The one thing I mentioned earlier, right, we're seeing everyone moving right now. If you're thinking about selling, tee it up this spring market. My prediction, you're going to see the spring market happen earlier than usual. We're already seeing a lot of buyers in town right now. Next few weeks, you got a car show coming up. Everyone's searching. Reach out to me, get some advice, 843-808 sold or blakesloan.com. We'll see you back here same time next week.
Get that on the money.
I was guessing. I was guessing. I figured it was close.